Record.
All right. So section 1.7 and 1.8 review. This is for the quiz tomorrow, Tuesday, the 12th of October. All right, so for section 1, they're asking you to write the exponential form for each. And you've been given it in a couple of different ways. You've been given it written out like a standard, and then you've also been given it in actual written form. So for number 1, we have 5 times 5. How would we write that exponentially?
5 to the second power.
Right. What's our base here? 5 is the base, and then what is the exponent? The 2. Yes. All right. So number 2, we have 13 times 13 times 13.
13 to the third power.
And right, remember that we call to the second power is called squared, and to the third power is called cubed. All right, number 3, we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3.
30 to the squared 4.
So what? How many times is 3 being multiplied times itself? That's your exponent. You don't forget this guy is just your problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I know. I don't. Sorry. So you don't include the number. Sorry, I didn't even catch that. I try not to. I caught that earlier because I had 4 squared at number 4, and I was like, oh, I better move that. But then I totally missed the even harder one. All right. So number 4 says 7 cubed. What is this telling us our exponent is? Yes, cubed means to the third power. All right, and then we have recording, right? Okay. Right, 5 is 4 squared, which means that your exponent is 2. And remember, think of a square. When you find the I lost it. The perimeter. No, the area. That's what I'm going for, area. If you have an area of a square, it's the length times the side, or length times width, which is 4 times, it's always the same. So that's 4 squared. And then if you have a cube, then it's the length times the width times the height, which is 4 times 4 times 4. And because that makes a cube, that's why we call it cubed. So that's where the squared and the cubed comes from. All right. And then if that confused you, completely ignore it. Wipe it from your brain. Don't think about it again. As long as you know that 2 is squared.
I don't have the eraser button in my brain.
So how would we write 13 squared?
13 to the second.
Yes, 13 to the power 2 or 13 to the second power. All right. Oh no, that's not good. So section 2 is just asking us to simplify. This means order of operation, and then you're actually creating a solution. So you'll have an answer to this one. So 4 times 2 to the 4th. So order of operation tells us we do which first? Simplify this first. You don't multiply 4 times 2 and then raise that 8 to the exponent. Very different answer, much, much larger. So what's 2 times itself 4 times? 2 times 2 times 2. 8 times 2?
Oh, yeah, 8 times 2 is
Definitely 16. All right, so this simplifies to 4 times 16. And we're going to go ahead and write that. Yeah, it is 64, but you can write it vertically. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry my 2. 4 plus 2 is 6.
Oh, this looks easy, but
It's like to me 13. It's 13, 26, 39. Like I know 13 times 3 because I've done it.
this is easy, but it's confusing with the numbers on top of each other.
when I do it like that?
No, like.
Or you mean with the exponents? Yeah. All right. So really, the way that you should probably work that out, Julian, is to go ahead and solve that long ways. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then you just use order of operation. 2 times 2 is 4 times this 2 is 8. And then you have your last one, gives you 16.
10 times 4, 10 times.
So then you have 4 times 16, which equals 64. All right, let's look at the next one. Number 8. Number 8 is 7 times 10 to the 4th. All right, what happens when we have a power of 10?
Oh,
Well, right. Okay, so your exponent tells you how many zeros you have.
7.
What's your exponent? Look at, yeah. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 7 times 1 is just 7. So 70,000. Exactly. Sorry, I thought you kept telling me you had 7 zeros. I wasn't here that 70. All right, so that's scientific notation. Yeah. Stay focused. Yes, thank you. All right, let's look at number 9. Number 9 gives us 31 squared. It is 31. This is the biggest thing you got to keep track of. Do not multiply 31 times 2. That sounds about right. 31 times 31, 1 times, so this is 31, and then this is 93. You have a 1 and a 6 and a 961. Is that what you said? 931 or 930?
It's like
1 times 1 is 1, then 1 times 3 is 3, so that'll be 31.
Uh-huh.
Add a 0, then 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9.
Right, and then you add them together.
Oh.
So you didn't add your 3 and 3, and you didn't bring down your 1, you left it at 0. So this is really 930. You forgot to add the extra 31. All right. So 961. Not too bad. Makes sense, right? Okay, good deal. All right, let's look at writing the expanded form. This is what you were asking me about earlier. So part 3 is write in expanded form. What does expanded form look like? Right, so you multiply the number in the place by the place value is really what you're doing. So if we have,
So it'll be 1 times 100,000.
yes, but what is anything times 0? So you can, anything with any place value is 0, you can just leave those blank, don't count them. So tell me again there, what's the first one? 1 times 100,000. All right, plus we're skipping the 10,000s because that's just 0. What's in my thousands? So hold on, Julian. So 8 times what? 8 times what place value is that 8 in? 1,000. So it's 8 times 1,000. All right. Isaiah, what about my 4? You can do that. We'll also, I'm writing it out in expanded form, and then I'm going to convert it to exponential form. But yes, you're right. It's 4 times 100. I'm just so we make sure we have these steps in front of us. And then, of course, in the tens place, we have a 0, so we can leave that just blank. And this is 3 times what? 3 times, what place value is it in? The 3? It's in the 1. There we go. 3 times 1. So now let's write these in exponential form. So the first one is 1 times 10 to the what power? How many zeros do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See that? I'm looking at this one. There's 5 zeros, so this is 1 times 10 to the 5th. And I'm focusing on Julian here because he was not, I don't believe he was here in class when we did this part. You missed the exponents unit. So make sure that you've got this neatly in your notes on your sheet here. Now, the 8, this is 8 times 10 to the what power? The 3rd power. Remember, we don't have the 1 to the 4th power because it was just 0. You don't have to put that in here. All right, and then as Isaiah said when he first gave it to us, the 400 is 4 times 10 to the 2, because again, we have 2 zeros. And then Julian, what about the 1? 3 times 10 to the what? Yes. Any number to the 0 power is 1. It's 0. Because 10 to the power of 1 is 10. But any number, whether it's 365,482,970, if it's raised to the power of 0, its value is 1. Yes, the number in the ones place is always 10 to the power of 0. 3 times 10 to the power of 0. You put 1 as the exponent for the 10?
Yeah.
So 3 times 10 to the power of 1 is what? 3 times 10. That would make it 30. So you have to do 3 times 10 to the power of 0 to show that it's in the ones place, because that is 3 times 1. That's probably the trickiest part of it, is remembering that 1 translate as 10 to the power of 0. All right, let's work on 11 now that you guys have had an example. Sorry, just let me know. Is everybody done? Okay. For number 11, we have 2,760. So what is this in expanded form?
2,000. So 2,000, after you put 2, that's going to be 1,000.
2 times, okay, plus, don't forget we're adding these. So Timmy, what's my next one? 7 times 100. All right. What is this tomorrow? Yeah. All right. What about the next one? 6 times 10.
I mean, 6 times.
Yeah, 6 times 10. And then the 0 is on the end, so we don't even need to worry about it. It's 0. Right? All right. So what's this in exponential form? 2. 2 times 10 to the 3rd cubed. Squared. Yep. 6 times 10 to the 1, because that's 60. Because there's a 0 in the 0, so you don't, in this case, you don't have a 10 to the power of 0 because you don't have anything in the ones place. So that is it. All right, are we feeling pretty good about these?
Yeah. Till the quiz comes in.
5? Wait, we just did 5. What are you talking about? Oh, section 5. Oh, no worries. We'll get to that. All right, let's look at section 4. In this case, we need to find the square roots.
That's
I mean, I
probably-
know the first one.
That's probably impossible. To find a square.
Easy peasy. All right, what's the square root of 144?
Yeah, 12.
So remember, this is, what is 144? It is 12 times 12. So what is being multiplied by itself? 12. So that's your answer. All right, number 13.
We're 13.
Oh, let's see here. So we have 64 million.
80.
Okay, so remember, whenever you have a power of 10 to an exponent, you add a 0.
Hey,
Whenever you have a square root of 0, you cut it in half. So how many zeros do we have right now?
So 800, 800?
There you go.
Is it
You
8?
got it? Okay, good. Let's break this down, okay? What times itself equals 64? 8. So this is 8 times 8. And then when we multiply 1,000 times 1,000, we get 1,000,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what two numbers are being multiplied times themselves? The 8 and the 1,000. Let me take that out. So this becomes, right? So what's my answer? 8,000. Does it click?
I was close.
All you have to do is check your zeros. Now, on the quiz, you're always going to have a number with an even number of zeros because they have to be even because you're dividing them by 2. Divide the zeros by 2. That goes on your answer bar. Then look at just the numbers and figure out what times itself equals that value. So good. It feels good, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, but now you see the method to that, right? All right, so let's look at 14. So number 14 is the square root of 324. Oh, man. So 14 times 14 was 196.
Oh, yeah, I know what it is. It's 13.
Say what?
Oh,
Well, we're multiplying.
I'm just saying, like, if you put that.
Yes.
13.
You want to try 13? 13 times 13 is 169.
Oh, it's a,
You want to try 17?
it's 11.
Well, 7 times 7 is 49. And does that end in a 9? I know, but just look at the last number because no matter what, 17 times 17, your last number in the problem is going to be 9.
18.
So, but 8 times 8 is what? 64. And we have a 4 here. So let's try 18. So 18 times 18 was 8 times 8. Carry your 6, 14. And then we bring down our 18. And that's a 0. So 4, 8 plus 4 is, carry my 1.
I was smart for once.
So just see how we did that? We looked at the last number. And it's not a guarantee, but it's a good way to estimate what it might be. So it gives you a place to start. So you're not constantly multiplying things. Right, I'm trying to kind of, as we go, teach y'all tricks, especially with these bigger numbers that it's harder to memorize because it's outside of our multiplication tables. All right, let's look at 15. Okay, so what you would want to do normally when you have, and I'm sorry these kind of look like they do. It should look like this, but I can't get it to work right in Word. Solve the fraction inside your square root first, and then, because you'll get a whole number. I'm going to tell you that right now at this level, you will get a whole number that is a perfect square. So first we divide, yes. So 2 does not go into 1, but 2 does go into 16. 2 goes into 16 how many times? 8 times.
I'm looking at, I kind of skipped ahead.
All right, so are you confused about 15?
Well, it's the square root of 78.
No, hold on. Go back to 15. We'll get there in a minute. Same thing, I'll show you. Okay, 2 goes into 16, 8 times, no remainder. 2 goes into 2, how many times? All right, did you get this one right, Tim? Well, then do it with us. Let's focus. Work on the one I'm working on so you can understand it. So solve your fraction first. Now, do we recognize 81 as a perfect square?
Yes,
What times itself equals 81?
9.
It's 9.
9.
Right? So let's go ahead and work this out. This is 9 times 9 equals 81. And so our answer is 9.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So is everybody clear on how I went from 162 divided by 2 to 81?
Yeah.
Are you with me? Okay. Maybe. I haven't actually solved these.
I know the next one.
Square root of 192. And y'all also take that square root on your page and extend it over the fraction. And to me, that's what we're going to do for number 18 and 19. So it's what's in the parentheses that's under your square root. But let's go back to 16. Let's make sure we're clear. This is the square root of 192 divided by 3. And I think it is 8. That sounds right. So 3 goes into 19 how many times? 6 times because it equals 18. So are we carrying, carry what? This is 19 minus 18.
No.
Carry our 1. And that goes with the 2, so 12, and 3 goes into 12.
Oh, I thought you meant what we carry on top of that.
Well, no, I'm doing 192 divided by 3. 3 goes into 19 6
Yeah, I
times.
thought you meant how we did the 6.
That's a 1. And then that's a 4. 4 goes times 3 is 12. That gives us a 0. So yes, because 64 is a perfect square. It's 8 times 8, which is, gives us 8. All right, last one, Timmy. This one's yours. Number 17. You better shush. No, it's not. I know, right? All right, so we have the square root of 64 over 16. What's the square root of 4? There we go.
Man, you
So yes,
got the smart.
well, you could also, here's another thing you could do with this one. Especially if you recognize that your numerator and your denominator are both perfect squares. Careful, Julian, don't stick your pencil in your eye. Let's look at number 17 a different way. And if I start to throw you off, just close your eyes and plug your ears. I don't want to confuse anybody. But this will be useful later when you get into a little bit higher math. You can write that as 64, square root of 64 over the square root of 16. Now, what's the square root of 64? What's the square root of 16? And what's 8 divided by 4? It's our same answer.
1.
Well, that would be 4 over 8. It's 1/2. But yeah, this is 8 over 4, which is 2. All right. So there are 2 different ways. That way you don't have to do 64 divided by 16 and accidentally get wrong. Because you know, if you know that 64 and 16 are both perfect squares, therefore they can just give you whole numbers. And 8 divided by 4 is a lot easier than 64 divided by 16. If you have trouble with that. Okay, now let's get to 18. So this is what I would like for you to fix on your paper. I want you to extend that square root symbol to cover 78 minus 53. That's why I put it in parentheses, because that's the square root of 78 minus 53. Then we're going to subtract 6 minus 2 and multiply that times 4. This one is from y'all's homework, and it is more complicated than what you are going to see on the quiz, but break it apart, We're practicing order of operation, which we're going to get into next unit, but all of y'all have had that before. So order of operation tells you to solve in your grouping symbols first. That's in this case, your parentheses, but we can do a couple of them at one time. We're just going to bring that 12 down, but what do we want to put under our square root now? What's 78 minus 53? 25? Oh, well, that's obvious. Is that right? 78. Work it out. If, look, those are big numbers. Work it out and make sure you get the right answer first. Don't mess the whole thing up. And I will also tell you on your quiz or test, if you don't get a perfect square inside a square root, you've done your math wrong. So try again. Okay.
Where?
It will always give you a perfect square. It'll be a number that is a perfect square. It's two numbers multiplied times. So let's do this next one. Minus, what's 6 minus 2?
Minus 2 is gonna be.
Okay, 4 times 4. All right. Now, we have two, we do exponents, which means we also do square roots before we do multiplication and division. But we can still kind of do them all at the same time a little bit. So let's leave our 12 here. What's the square root of 25? What times itself equals 25? Right. And what's 4 times 4? I'm just going to throw that in there. All right, so now we have 12 plus 5 minus 16. I just simplified, I took that 25. I'm keeping it, no, it's 5 times 5 under the square root symbol.
So the answer is 4.
So the answer is 11.
What do you do first?
Well, look, so if you add the 5 to 12 and something like 16 to 1, then you got to times.
We already did the multiplication.
Yeah, so it's just 1.
Yep. All that for 1.
Man, I wouldn't do math. I could have guessed it probably.
Could
went
you have?
To the one.
Let's do one more. Number 19 is probably a little closer to the level you're going to see on your quiz. But again, extend that square root all the way across the parentheses. 38 plus 11 minus 3. All right, so square root of, what's 38 plus 11? 38
What?
plus 11. What's 8 plus 1?
38 plus 11.
It's number 19. It's in front of you.
That's 49.
Right. Minus 3. Now, what times itself equals 49?
The 6. No, 7.
So that is the square root of 7 squared. 7 times 7 is 7 squared. Now, what's the opposite of being squared? Square root. What's the opposite of multiplication? So they cancel each other out. So this cancels out this, and you're left with this. That's why I'm doing that. I could do one more step and show it as squared. Huh? You don't have to. No, you just have to recognize, as long as you recognize that 49 is 7 times 7, then you just turn it into 7. Like that's your answer. So 7 minus 3. I'm just working it out for everybody, for all the brains, because we got all different brains. You all got brains. If you're breathing, you're braining.
Yes, that too.
All right. So that is your quiz review. Make sure all of that makes sense. Does anybody want to go over it? The quiz will be tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and quit the recording so it's done.